We're here at PodFest. We're inside of Ecamm's Unstuck Studios, which are very cool booths. There's like 8 of these that you're able to come in and do your live streaming or your podcast. So very, very cool. I'm here with my good friend, Lou Mongello. I've known Lou forever. I knew him before he knew me, is what it's like. It's like I've stalked him on social media. But I've been going, and you guys who've watched this channel or this show, you know how much I talk about Ecamm and the people I met at, not Ecamm, at Momentum, and hanging out with Lou every year at his conference. But Lou was inducted into the Podcast Hall of Fame. It was interesting last night, the guy who was doing the MC and saying it's harder to get in the Podcast Hall of Fame than becoming a general, which was pretty incredible. So it is a very rare honor. So Lou, thank you for coming on this. How does it feel now that you're in the Podcast Hall of Fame? I mean, first of all, tell people how long you have been podcasting.
So I've been podcasting for 20 years, which is crazy. Never thought, this idea of figuring out what a podcast was and would take me, 2 decades later to places I never thought it would, back then. So
that's a long time to do.
That's why I wasn't sure if the Hall of Fame thing was like, listen, Mongello, you've put in your maybe it's time we just sunset you. Just take this and just keep going and don't come back.
Exactly. So what would you tell podcasters? Is it one, it's almost like YouTube. Is it too late to get into this platform? Do you feel like it's too saturated, or is there space for somebody to come and do it?
No, I think just the opposite. And using YouTube, I think, is a great example, because I think the number of podcasts, especially the number of active podcasts, is relatively infinitesimally smaller than on YouTube. So you have a huge opportunity to be a big fish in a relatively small pond. Whereas for YouTube, not to discourage anybody from starting a YouTube channel, but you do have a much higher mountain to climb in order to sort of, if you want to rank among, the top YouTubers. And look, YouTube is very much a volume-based game if you want to, not just in terms of the vanity metrics, but in terms of income. And I think you don't have to have that same type of quote unquote success on podcasting.
If you could go back, I mean, I know we've all made mistakes, in content creation and the stuff you do. When you are counseling new podcasters, is there a piece of advice that you go back to every time that you tell them when they first start podcasting?
There's an easy Jeff C joke in here that you saw me warming up.
I saw it.
So wait, do I have a bit of piece of advice?
Like there's something that you would go back and tell yourself, or there's something that, you see every podcast when they first start struggle with the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's in podcasting and in content creation, it's a very sort of, it's like a sine wave. There's highs, there's high highs, and there's very low lows. And it's getting through those low times. That's, what that the differentiator is. And that's why we go back to the importance of, what your why is, what your passion is. And I think before you even sit down to record your first episode, you need to be very clear and authentic with yourself, saying, why am I doing this, right? What is going to be my measure and barometer of success? Is it a dollar figure? Is it a number of downloads? Do you just have this thing that you want to share? And I think that needs to be it. You just have to have this sort of, I am a very big believer in sort of the passion behind what you do, because it's what keeps you up late at night. It's what helps get you through those low lows. Be very clear in terms of what your why is, what you want success to be measured at, and, make sure that you can be consistent. In this medium, consistency is key because you become part of people's routine.
So in your session, you talked about, for you, it's not so much the downloads or how big your podcast gets or whatever, but it's the people that you are talking to. You had some great examples. And actually the MC, at your induction ceremony, went to your session and picked up on some of these things. They were that impactful to him. But you were talking about how, because you do a podcast, because it's that intimate medium where you're in somebody's ear, that sometimes you're the only voice that they have around them at certain times. Like you mentioned somebody who said that they got me through my hospital stay and something like that. So can you talk about, there's this opportunity, not just to grow a business or be influential, but also to make an impact and a deep kind of meaning in somebody's life that sometimes we don't think about when we start this podcast. And maybe you didn't either. And now you've realized the impact that you can have on these people that listen to you. So can you talk a little bit about the importance of that?
Look, I mean, my show is, I joke around like I do a show about Mickey Mouse. I mean, I do a show about Walt Disney World, right? I want to help people have a better vacation experience and teach them a little bit and give them a distraction from, daily life, be a positive influence, because I think that has a ripple effect. But I think because this is such an intimate medium and we do become part of people's routine, I always say you don't know who's listening on the other side. You don't know what they are potentially going through, and you don't know how your show may help them. I think a lot of podcasters think about and say, well, because of my podcast, all these amazing things happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more impactful when somebody comes to you and says, because of your podcast, this happened to me. And I've been fortunate. I know a lot of podcasters too have probably heard from people saying, because of your podcast, I got through a tough time, right? I got through a divorce. I got through cancer treatments. You want to talk about a moment that's going to make you stop and say, wow, like you can't put a price on that. Right. And I think for me, that was a very eye-opening experience in terms of, I thought I was just talking about Disney World, but a lot of what you do might be much more meaningful to somebody than you think.
One of the things that when I first got to be a part of your community, when I first was kind of getting into the Lou Mongello pyramid scheme, this was, I was trying to learn about community, and I found yours and I saw how it was done and how it was done right. And also how the community actually went out of their way. Like you had a tragedy in your life and they came and gathered around and actually, your organization, your Make-A-Wish foundation that you do, and then what is it, 300,000? How much have you?
550,000 for Make-A-Wish.
For Make-A-Wish. But they rallied around you and surprised you with this gift that they gave to help kind of lift you up during that time. That impressed me to no end. So can you talk about not just that you give to the community and you're in somebody's ear and you can help them through a tough time, but also that they're there supporting each other and also supporting you during that.
Excuse me 1 second. Jeff paid attention to my session where I jokingly said that crying is podcast gold because he's trying to make me cry.
I'm not.
Probably going to concede.
I'm serious. That was a moving thing when I saw that.
So my mom passed a number of years ago, and since I started on this journey, when I first wrote my first tribute book in 2003, we've raised money for Make-A-Wish. That 550,000 is not from me; it is from the community. Right. It's from this family. Unbeknownst to me, a close friend of mine from the community, Lisa, on her own, said, let's sort of do this Make-A-Wish fundraising in memory of Lou's mom. During a live video broadcast one night, I get a knock on my office door and it's Lisa and my wife. And I'm like, this can't be good. And it's going out live. A lot of worry.
Right.
And she walked in and said, yeah, I just reached out to the community and I said what had happened and how important Make-A-Wish is to you, me, and gave me this book. And on their own, they raised $50,000, and I think I think the final number ended up being closer to 70 or 75,000. Right. That's why I say community is not a marketing buzzword. I say family, not in sort of a joking way. Like that's a testament to exactly what that really means.
Mm-hmm. So
didn't cry.
So community is important, and I see how that not only the community gives to you, but you also give so to your community. And I mean, I joke around a lot, but I really look up to you as the way of a person who does that and lives that. And one of the things of the way you do that is your Momentum Conference that I have luckily been a part of for, I think, the last 4 years where I've spoken at it. Can you talk a little about Momentum? I mean, our friends here are all at Momentum. We were hanging out and getting lunch and dinner. So it's not just a conference that you go to, but it's a place where people with growth mindsets come together, form bonds, and not just boost their business, but also boost their relationship and growth and all that stuff. Can you talk a little bit about that conference and why it's so important and part of your business?
I think for a lot of us, Jeff, who start these businesses on our own and may have a great support system around us, whether it's parents, wife, husband, kids, whatever, they may not understand what it is that we're doing behind. Right, yeah. I don't know what you're doing behind that door, but you go do you. But it's oftentimes a very lonely existence, and we don't have people to get advice from or bounce ideas. I used to I take around, like, the cat is great to have there, but you're not going to get a lot of business advice feedback from your cat. Yeah. I've been through that, and I've also gone to conferences where I'm an introverted extrovert, right? Or I come home with a notebook full of ideas, but I never can execute on them. So I said I want to make something once where people can come in a single room, facilitate networking, connect people who might be able to sort of help the tide rise for all boats. You don't have to worry about what session am I going to, what am I going to miss, and do the work in the room, because I want you to come out from Momentum at a different place than when you walked in. And you've been so incredibly generous with your time and your talent and your experience and expertise in helping teach people. And I love watching, like, I don't pay attention to you on stage necessarily, but I love watching. No, I mean, even here, I watch the people in the room and the way that they respond to you, and some of the other people who have gone through this experience and share it with others. And, when I say this, a transformative event for a lot of people, it really is.
It really is. And so, LouMongello.com/momentum. He always, he locks it at 50 people. So when he opens it up, make sure you go there and check that out, because it really is life-changing. And there's so many people who come back every year, and there's a reason for that. So make sure you check that out. One thing I want to kind of wrap up with is that one of the things when I first started watching Lou, he was doing a live show on Wednesday nights, and he continues to do that live show. And he was using software that I loved and learned from. It's Ecamm, which has sponsored this whole booth. So can you tell the folks kind of like why you use Ecamm and why, one, it's a community. We've talked a little bit about that. They have a great one, but why you use it in your business?
I'm not saying this because I'm sitting in the Ecamm booth and I love the Ecamm people, right? You want to talk about Ecamm fam is a real thing. They treat customers like their family. It's been transformative because I am, again, a solo person producing a show. So I'm trying to think about what I'm talking about, do the graphics, engage with the community. Ecamm makes it so simple that me and my laptop, I'm able to put together something that looks so professionally produced. It looks like there are multiple people doing things behind the scenes. It's affordable. It's intuitive. Their support is incredible. And they do things like this to not just say, well, here's your piece of software, like go forth and do your thing. They're going to help you along your journey, not just figure out the solutions to challenges, but how to improve your game and learn from others as well.
Well, once again, if you guys watch this, if you want to give a shout out to Lou, because it's a big deal that he got inducted into the Podcast Hall of Fame. It's very well deserved. He's been doing it for 20 years. Reach out to him and say hi and say you saw him here. But Lou, where can people find out more about you? All the stuff you do, Momentum, all that stuff.
So everything I do on the Disney side of things is at wdwradio.com, and everything I do on the business and coaching, consulting, and Momentum side is at LouMongello.com, and I'm at Lou Mongello on all social.
And if you ever have a chance to have Lou speak at your event or see him speak, I saw him way back in the day. I got off my dinosaur and went and watched him on social media marketing world, and he was doing the keynote. Very good speaker. Highly recommend him if you have an event or anything to see if you can get him to speak to your organization. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you, Lou.
Thank you.